Okay. Right.
Welcome
Well,
to
this is
Keitley.
Lucinda.
Hi, Lucinda.
Lucinda's 11, just started senior school here in the UK. I'm ancient and I've been a photographer for years. And we decided that as a family thing, we were going to embark on a project to teach Lucinda a bit better photographic skills. And it's kind of an interesting project. What we're aiming to do is to get Lucinda to the stage where she can submit a portfolio to the Royal Photographic Society to apply for one of their distinctions, which would end up with her being able to have letters after her name as a photographer. And we hope to do this within a year, so that we, by the time she's 12, she would have letters after her name. So the whole project is based upon doing something practical, but still on the scientific side. So simply, really, it's the A in STEAM education. So that's what it's all about.
Okay. So thank you so much. It's really nice to see you both, and you can start sharing. Thank you.
Where do I go to share a screen? It's there, and I want the screen.
Can I see that?
Okay, so the screen should be live, yeah?
Yes, already.
Okay, off you go, Lucinda. Yeah, they know it's a photographic project. We'll just go.
There we go. So the first slide is about learning by creating. So there'll be 3 different projects. The projects are designed to be practical and give a hands-on experience while participants learn. First project is to design a Shropshire calendar. The second will be to build a places to visit in Shropshire ebook. And the third will be to create a portfolio for a Royal Photographic Society distinction. Sharing the learning. We will be working on a 4-week repeating cycle with each week covering a different discipline. Each week we will share a podcast allowing photographers around the world to learn with us. Week 1 will be technical, the physics behind the art. Week 2 will be creative, capturing the image you want. And week 3 will be software, fine-tuning your images. And week 4 will be the challenge. We will set a challenge for photographers to submit their images to us via email and Facebook. Calendar. We need to create a calendar based around the Shropshire where we live to be used as a marketing tool for local businesses, such as nurseries and gift shops. Shropshire is a beautiful part of the UK that includes many photographic opportunities, such as National Trust properties, Attingham Park, English Heritage properties, Ormond Abbey, castles, Ludlow, Shrewsbury, Stokesay, rugged landscapes such as Shropshire Hills and Hawstone Park, historic buildings like Wildcock and the Shrewsbury Flax Mill, and the River Severn. Look, as we gather images for the calendar, we will undoubtedly end up with more than we need for that project. And that is without considering we will end up with multiple images of the same location from different views and angles. Our aim with the ebook is to create an illustrated collection of locations, each with multiple images and some background information on each, together with maps showing where they are. For example, the Flax Mill in Shrewsbury, which is recognised as the world's first skyscraper. RPS distinction. The RPS, the Royal Photographic Society, offers 3 levels of distinction. Gaining a distinction proves you're a good photographer. The 3 levels of distinction are licentiate, associate, and fellowship. We recommend you apply for the licentiate first, unless you're an experienced photographer, in which case you may decide to apply for the associate distinction first. The licentiate applicants must show Among other criteria, a variety of approach and techniques, but not necessarily in subject matter. It's demanding but achievable for most dedicated photographers. It will require you to submit 10 images which reflect your ability as a photographer. FAQ. Who is this aimed at? Anybody looking to either improve their photography skills or anyone wanting to understand more about the physics of photography. What level of camera do I need? Any camera or smartphone where you can adjust the camera settings. Do I have to do every part of the course? No, you can dip in and out to suit yourself. How much time will I need? As little as 30 minutes a week. Are there any qualifications awarded? We hope you will learn enough to consider submitting your own distinction application to the RPS, but we do not award our own qualifications.
The RPS distinctions are globally applicable, so anybody, any country around the world can submit a portfolio.
Is there any particular hardware you will use? Motorola and Poco smartphones, as well as Canons, specifically DSLRs. Is there any particular software you'll be using? We'll be using Adobe Lightroom, Photoshop, Darktable, GIMP, and Microsoft Ice. Adobe Lightroom and Photoshop are both commercial programs, but the others are all free. Are there any particular services you'll be using? Flickr, Zazzle Custom Gifts, Optimal Print, and SAL Photo Printing. What topics will be covered? Technical will include exploring the relationships between aperture and shutter speed, and between aperture and the depth of field. How to freeze action, what do we mean by aperture, shutter speed, ISO speed, and exposure? Creative will explore composition, awareness of what the camera will capture, landscapes, portraits, architecture, and wildlife, as well as techniques for lighting, HDR, and close-up macro. Software will look at editing, storage, preparing for printing and display, use of creative filters for modifying images and more.
You can, if you want, just use the first one.
Aperture is the opening of the lens that lets light into the camera. Shutter speed is how fast the shutter moves, so how long the lens lets light go into the camera. ISO speed goes back to the days of film where different film types responded to light at different speeds. Generally, the slower films gave better images. Contacting the project. You can contact us via email at paul@steam.org or via Facebook at Images from a Life. Thank you for listening. Hope to see you and your images. Our first podcast is due November the 4th, 2021.
Okay. We'll put it back to, how do we unshare?
I think we just get them back down there. There's about
Stop sharing. Okay. Hi, Jake. Good to see you. Does anybody have any questions for Lucinda?
That was very interesting. Very interesting.
I would like to say something, if I may, to Lucinda. A very well thought out presentation, but more than that, offering so much in terms of your course. Are there any costs involved for the person who wishes to take your course from perhaps out of the UK?
No,
I'm from South Africa, by the way, you may be interested.
there are no costs involved. The only caveat there may be there is that some of the services, like some of the printing services, we may operate as an associate and potentially get a percentage reward, I suppose, for somebody placing an order with them. But other than that, it's completely free. It's something I did in a small way in the US about 15 years ago, but I found it's one of these things where I seem to have an innate good use of photography. I ended up getting corralled in the States to photograph the Art of Ferrari event in Corning. And as a result of photographing that at a museum, the head of the museum came to me and said, would you ever consider doing any aerial photography? And 2 weeks later, I found myself several thousand feet above the Finger Lakes photographing warplanes. And I'd just like to be able to share what I can do with other people, because it seems to come easy to me, and it seems to be a relatively simple thing to explain to other people, and that's better, and I get the enjoyment out of watching them get better.
Well, it's an amazing initiative, and it's very generous of you to share your knowledge so readily and so generously, quite frankly. Lucinda, a little question for you. Which is your favorite topic to take photographs of? Do you have the patience to take birds, or do you like castles? Where would you go for your favorite spot?
I typically like landscapes or something.
Sorry, say again, please.
Like a landscape or something.
Landscape. Is that
Yes.
what you said? Oh, okay, thank you. I was just interested out of, there's just so much. The next point I'd like to make, if I may, please, Lisa, the calendar that you're going to be putting together is obviously UK based. And I think it was based on, for the most part, buildings, landscape. Mind you, you did have wildlife in there as well.
Correct.
Would you ever consider doing an international calendar? Can you imagine getting 12 countries, sending in one photograph for the month to represent one thing in their country that would be representative, not necessarily only landscape? It could be a bird, a national emblem. It could be a day in the life of. Would that be an idea that you could carry on with?
It would be, yes, but we'd hope that we would encourage people, but by following the story that we build in terms of creating our own calendar and giving people the services that we use, that they may go on themselves to use those services to produce things. And if we ended up with a community at the end of it, we could end up with, I don't know, for argument's sake, the Gift Calendar Project, and have others from all around the world listed, and people could buy them, and obviously you guys would get a percentage to continue your good works.
Oh, wait a minute. That's a wonderful idea.
I mean, the idea is it's completely open-ended. The beauty of photography is that there is no limit to what you might decide to photograph. You could bump into one of the Rolling Stones in the street, and then, like we almost had a couple of minutes ago, we could have this crashed by our Great Dane. So you end up with a photograph of a Great Dane.
I think what's so special about photography is that you capture that moment, that second, that nanosecond forever. Sometimes you try and describe a lovely sunset to somebody and they can say, yeah, I've seen that sunset, and yes, it's pretty. But you show them a photograph of something that is so splendiferous you can't describe it other than what you look at. I think that must be a joy you see every day through your camera. And I congratulate you again on a very fine presentation. And thank you very much. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Paul and Lucinda, for sharing. Really wonderful.
Okay, thank you.